So one more thing I just wanted to do is just sort of give a sort of demonstration about why proceduralism is so powerful and why it's so great to have sort of automatic materials and textures and what that really allows you to do. So this part is more about the actual doing, it's not really a learning, it's more of a demonstration of what is possible when you have all of this stuff set up, and you know, this is what Brushify is really capable of. So yeah, I'm just going to go to a random place like this one right here. I'm going to first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all the trees and stuff. And you can see I've got this kind of, you know, I already did the height map work here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of start sculpting around a bit and create a nice little scene with a lake. So I've just made some little indents there. Okay, cool. So here I'm just kind of sculpting away at the terrain a bit. Smooth out the sides, the edges. You can see that as I sculpt, I've basically got the auto material taking care of all of the little stuff, like the sort of slopes and angles. So here if I make like a blob there, you can see that I've basically got like all this stuff going. I've also got these kind of rolling clouds in the sky that kind of give these nice cloud shadows across the scene. I'm going to reduce my brush a bit there, but yeah, making these nice little indents is always cool. Smoothing out this. So yeah, you can see how if you spend a bit of time on the terrain, you can get some really nice results there. And of course you can use the alpha brushes. So right here I've just got the sort of Brushify erosion brush. Make that a bit bigger. You know, maybe I want to have, instead of doing all this by hand, I just want to like stamp in some erosion. And yeah, that's as simple as just sort of clicking here. So I've got my stamp, click it, get some nice erosion details there. If you hit clay brush, it usually gives some nice results too. This really gives automatic nice results. So there you can see it gave me all of these nice details. But you know, on the smaller areas, better to just kind of like, you know, if you want to do some specific thing, just do it by hand and make sure you keep it really smooth. So generally, like playable terrain, it should be always really quite smooth like this. And you know, if you ever get like a cliff wall or something, you can always just hide that or cover that with an actual rock. So in this case, I'm just going to bring in one of the rocks that is included with the forest pack, which is one like this. And I'm just going to scale it a little bit and slot that in. So every time you get this kind of slopey looking like this, you know, it's just a slope, it's not really got any detail on it. You know, if you want to cover that up and you want to make that look a bit better, just slot a real cliff into there. Same with this one. And you can just go around, you know, creating the tops of cliffs by sort of rotating these around in different ways. They're really dynamic assets and generic assets, so you don't need to really worry about, you know, people noticing too much if they look exactly the same or something. And yeah, you can see there that now I've got the kind of basis of these. Same up here, like with this one right here. If I just make a big one, let's make that at the top of the mountain so that I can see a nice sort of cliff outlooking, like cliff top, like a okay, and let's walk around again. So now I've got this nice little area here. You're starting to see it take form. Let's run up here. And the great thing is, you know, because it's already playable, it's just like you can run on the top of this, Go over on here, right on the top of this. Everything's got collisions. You know, and this area is taking like what, minute, 2 minutes. So you know, if you would do an entire area, it would just be a case of like placing a lot of these as cliff pieces, you know, which generally kind of just slot into the terrain. And there are a few more different variations. You've got this one here, which is more of a kind of spiky one. You know, so if this is like a, if you want, you can just slot in one of those, break it up a little bit. Same with here. Let's slot in this one. You don't have to worry too much about it. It's all up to you how these slot in and how they work. So next step I'm going to do is I'm going to add the procedural generation rocks. So with those, I'm just going to run my same procedural spawner, hit resimulate, and now you can see it's covered the entire terrain with all these little rocks. And that is the power of proceduralism right there. You can just instantly cover your entire terrain with all this little detail. And yeah, and they even have collisions and stuff. Same thing as before. If I start running along this thing, you know, it's even added some rocks that, like this rock right here, that is isn't part of that mesh, but it kind of blends really nicely and seamlessly into it, which is really cool. So that's kind of like, you know, so that's really my approach to sort of terrain and rock cover. You know, I've got an auto material, I've got hand placed big meshes like these ones, which I just, you know, I just slot into my terrain to kind of supplement the terrain. And then on top of that, I have basically a sort of procedural rock cover that has sort of certain rules and stuff applied. And yeah, that works really well, I think, as a sort of technique to generate these game environments really quickly. So I'm just going to drag in some water. So inside of my content browser in Brushify, materials, water, ocean, I've got a mesh here, which is just a plane. And yeah, there we go. Let's just drag in the plane there. And I'm just going to make that a little bigger. Let's say a couple hundred. Okay, cool. So yeah, now I have some sort of water there. Excellent. And next step, of course, is the trees, which I can now spawn over the top of everything, which is just as simple as going to the same spawn as before, hitting resimulate. So one thing that will go wrong now is you can see that the trees are spawning inside of the water. Now, to make sure that doesn't happen, I have to make sure that I give the water a separate material. Now, great thing about this is with Brushify I already have the beach biome, which is made to basically exactly for this purpose. So you can see that as I start painting the beach in there, you can see that I've got basically, that was a bit too hard. I'll go back and repaint that again. Yeah, I can just basically go around the edge of my lake, just kind of adding beach everywhere to the edge of the lake. Usually just start with the edges, and later on we can kind of fill the whole thing up. So yeah, this is just wherever you have the edge of the lake where you don't want to have any yeah, this bit back here I'm not really bothered about yet. Not really bothered about doing. But yeah, we can spend more time on this. I'm just doing it very, very quickly just to demonstrate. And yeah, so here I've got my plane. I'm just going to go back to the water, and I'm just going to, in the outliner, you can't see it, but here we go. I'm just going to hide that water for a second. And then inside you can see, of course, that there's all of that stuff that needs filling in. So then you just go in there and fill that in very quickly. Doesn't take too long. So now you can see that the whole of the center of my lake is now beach. So now when I let's just enable my water once more. Okay, great. Now when I generate my trees, hopefully we'll be able to see that I've just got to check our landscape and static meshes. Hopefully we'll be able to see that. There we go. Now we've got a nicely masked out area for just the trees. So it's going to run around a little bit again to show you guys how that works. So yeah, you really can see how quickly someone could start building environments with these kind of procedural tools. I don't have to build anything really by hand. The only stuff done by hand is a bit of terrain sculpting and a bit of terrain sculpting and a few sort of hand placed rocks, you know, that I've sort of hand placed myself. And yeah, the trees automatically growing on the rocks. Player can already walk around on all of these sections. And you know, really it just means that the trees themselves are, yeah, that's that cliff top we placed as well. It just means that the trees themselves and all these kind of extra things, they're still interactive in that they don't allow you to clip through them, but generally they are just, you know, they're almost just aesthetic. They don't really affect the game. So you know, you can still have a shooter going on in this, or you know, if it's a large scale MMO, it just means a little bit less time spent on the sort of overall design work and a little bit more time that you can spend on sort of the gameplay and building these vast environments. And you know, of course, you know, this is very different sort of design or creation technique to, you know, how you do a sort of first person shooter. Could still be used for a first-person shooter, but you know, generally it's more for games that are like MMOs and things like that, where you're just going to have like massive amounts of landscapes, and you want to make sure that all of those landscapes get, you know, created very, very quickly, and that they all are consistent and looking good. And that's really like, yeah, the sort of game changer about with proceduralism. It just allows you to go so much faster, and in some ways it can be better looking than hand placement, because it does take away it does take away some of the laziness of artists. You know, if an artist has to place 1,000 objects across a 100 square kilometers map, it's generally going to take them much longer, and the quality can sometimes be reduced just because it's like they didn't have time to really make sure that a good job was done. So yeah, proceduralism can be really great. I think it's better with the actual asset placement rather than the assets themselves, but that's a sort of different topic. Anyway, that's my kind of methodology to building environments really quickly in Unreal Engine, and I hope you guys enjoyed, you know, some of the tools that I was showing off today. So one more thing to say is that all of the tools and assets that you've seen in this video are all included in the Brushify packs that you can buy from the Unreal Engine marketplace. So if you just go to w.brushify.io, hit Get Brushify Now, it will take you to my full product catalog. You know, I have a bunch of different packs. I've got a forest pack, which is what you saw in this video. I've got a dunes pack, cliffs pack, volcanoes, desert mountains, grasslands, mountains. I'm at the moment working on a canyons pack, and I'm trying to get out, you know, packs all the time, which kind of, you know, they still use the same infrastructure, they still use the same sort of shaders and everything, and I'm just kind of growing off of this procedural infrastructure that I showcased in this video. So any of these packs, they can all be used in this way to quickly build Unreal Engine environments. So if you guys really want to support me, please, by all means, buy a pack. Another way that you can support me is through Patreon. This is something I just recently launched, which allows you to become a patron of mine and donate, something very, very small, like $1 a month, and that really will help, to sort of contribute to, me building out Brushify, adding more packs, creating more tutorials and more content for you guys. Another thing that I also offer is a sort of consultation service. Which is really something that, if you're a game developer and you're building your game and you really need some sort of specialist expertise, some advice from me, then I offer a consultation service. It's like one-to-one feedback. And that means, I'll help you guys with getting your stuff sort of set up. If you have any problems, you'll be able to, come directly to me, and, I'll help you even by like screen sharing and making sure that if you get stuck with something, we can figure it out. So yeah, if that's something that's appealing to you, then yeah, you can check that out on Patreon, and the link's in the description below. So thanks, guys.